All right, everyone. Welcome. To all you future chartered accountants out there, get ready. Today, we're not just studying, we're going on an investigation.
You know, every set of financial statements, it tells a story. But here's the thing. If you just skim the surface, you're going to miss all the juicy details, the real plot twist hidden between the lines.
So, to uncover that hidden story, we need a special set of tools. It's time for us to put on our detective hats and become financial investigators.
All right, so every good investigation needs a solid plan, right? Here's our game plan for today. First up, we're going to meet the key players. Then, we'll look inside their toolkit. After that, we'll cover the rules of the investigation. And finally, we'll talk about what all the evidence really means.
So, Professor, who are these detectives?
That's an excellent question, Anjali. Well, first up, we have our lead detectives, the shareholders and the investors. I mean, they're the owners, right? So their mission is pretty clear. They're asking the big questions. Is my investment actually growing? Is this company making any money? And to get those answers, they've got their favorite tools. Things like profitability ratios to keep an eye on earnings and solvency ratios to make sure the whole operation is built on solid ground.
Okay, next on the scene are the lenders and creditors. You can think of these folks as the financiers. Their number one concern, making sure their money is safe. So, lenders who are in it for the long haul, they'll be looking at coverage and solvency ratios. But creditors who are more concerned about the short term, they're going to be laser focused on liquidity ratios. Basically, can the company pay its bills? Like right now.
And of course, we can't forget the detectives working from the inside, the company's own managers. They need the entire toolkit, you know? They're using all the ratios to find weaknesses, spot opportunities, and just make better decisions all around. And finally, there's the government. They're kind of like the ultimate auditors, using profitability ratios to ensure everything is above board and the company is paying the right amount of tax.
Okay, so we have our detectives. What's in their toolkit, Professor?
Great question. So, let's open up this toolkit. The very first tool we pull out helps us check a company's liquidity. Now, the easiest way to get this is to think about Ch3. Does he have enough lottos right now to share with his friends who just showed up? That's liquidity in a nutshell. Can the company meet its short-term promises as they come due?
All right, next up is long-term solvency. Now, this isn't about today's lottos. This is about the bigger picture, about long-term survival. Think about Ch3's entire village, Dolakpur. Do they have enough food stored away to last the whole year, even if things get tough? That's solvency. It's all about whether the company is financially viable and can survive for the long haul.
The next tool in our kit is all about operating efficiency. Look, it's one thing to have a bunch of assets, right? But it's another thing entirely to use them well. How well is the company actually using its resources, like its buildings and inventory, to generate sales revenue? That's the core question here.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. One of the most powerful ways to use this toolkit is for what we call inter-firm comparison. Think about it. A ratio all by itself doesn't mean much. It's kind of like getting your exam score back. A 75. Is that good? Is it bad? You have no idea until you compare it to the industry average. By comparing a company's ratios to its competitors, we can figure out if it's leading the pack or falling behind, understand why, and then, most importantly, take action to fix things.
This toolkit seems powerful. Are there any rules or traps we should be aware of? Absolutely, Anjali, and a good detective is always cautious. So, rule number 1, you've got to beware of the seasonal factor trap.
What kind of trap is that?
Okay, so imagine a company that sells cotton garments, heavy winter clothes. Their inventory is going to be massive between October and January, right as they're gearing up for the cold season. But come summer, that inventory level drops to maybe just a quarter of what it was. So if you only calculate a ratio at the year end, you're getting a snapshot that might not represent the true average picture for the whole year. It can be super misleading. Okay, here's another one to watch out for. It's a classic trick called window dressing. This is when companies, shall we say, try to tidy up their financial statements right before they have to report them. They manipulate things to make the company look healthier and more attractive than it really is.
So a good ratio isn't always good, and a bad one isn't always bad.
Exactly, Anjali. You've hit the nail on the head, and this is probably one of the most important things to remember. Context is everything. I mean, a low current ratio might seem like a red flag, but what if it's because the company has amazing, super efficient inventory management? On the flip side, a really high current ratio might look fantastic, but maybe it just means they have a pile of cash sitting around doing nothing. You always have to dig deeper and understand the reasons behind the numbers.
And this leads me to the golden rule for any financial detective. Never, ever rely on a single clue. You have to look at a whole set of ratios together. They're all interrelated. Looking at just one ratio in isolation is like trying to solve a puzzle with only one piece. You're just not going to see the full picture.
So, after all this, what's the final verdict? What's the big takeaway for our investigation?
Here it is, and if you remember one thing from today, let it be this: financial ratios provide clues, not conclusions. That's it. They are tools. They're like signposts on a road. They point you in the right direction. They tell you where to look closer, but they are not the final answer.
Because at the end of the day, they are just tools. And how effective a tool is depends entirely on the expert who's using it. And that expert is you. You are the analyst, the detective, who has to take all these clues, interpret them, and piece together the real story.
So, as you continue on your journey to becoming a chartered accountant, please keep this in mind. Always ask why. Always look beyond the numbers on the page. Your real value, your real skill, will be in uncovering the true story that those numbers are trying to tell you. Good luck with your investigations.